can't breathe.
Welcome to the final panel of the Fall 2020 Inspire Virtual Institute. I'm Herman Felton, one of the founders, and on behalf of the others, Alfred Anthony Pinkard, Melva Williams, and Greg Dees, we want to thank you for taking this journey with us today. Unconventional, we know, but we are resilient just as you are, and we've had to adjust, adapt, and overcome the cards that have been handed to us. But it has been an amazing ride, an amazing day. And if you've had the pleasure of being a part of the H.E.L.F experience, you know that it is a crescendo type scenario for us. We build upon each panel. And closing out the panel, or rather the day, is a good group of gentlemen who have done some extraordinary work. And I want to welcome them today. We are here with three distinguished guests. I'm Herman Felton. My day job finds me as president of Wiley College, and we are joined by the sage of the group, Dr. Roderick L. Smothers, Senior President of Philander Smith College. Please welcome Dr. Smothers. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Welcome, my brother. It's been a great day for you all. Well, very excited for you.
I appreciate it, brother. I do appreciate it. The man in the middle is none other than Hakeem J. Lucas, extraordinary visionary leader up at Virginia Union University. President Lucas, welcome, sir. How are you today?
Man, it's good to see my two brothers, and very excited to see our third brother join.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that third gentleman is none other than A. Zachary Faison. He actually is my president. He's the president of my alma mater, Edward Waters College. Welcome, Dr. A. Zachary Faison.
Good evening, brothers. It's good to be back with the collective. I call us the Rat Pack.
I was just about to say that the Rat Pack is back. It is good. We converse often by way of text and phone calls. So it's good to actually see your faces. You know, normally by now, we would have been at Saks and on our way to a H.E.L.F institute in person, right? We normally would have been. And so I want to start out first by saying that H.E.L.F would not be what it is without certainly the three of you and the other brother and sister presidents and the many fellows who have took this journey with us. Roderick Smothers has been with us from day one. A. Zachary Faison and Hakeem Lucas started out as fellows, and they have been with us from day one of their individual cohorts. And so we're really blessed. The magic that we've been able to capture in a bottle is because of a collective. We are not delusional. It is not about us. We have not been able to do it, but we've been able to do it with a collective. But today, we're going to have a conversation about something that I think all can relate to. And I think we as presidents find ourselves in the doghouse because we are constantly looking to recruit and retain rock stars and how to curate the next wave of leaders right now. And oftentimes that puts us in the firing squad with our cabinet members because we're actually looking for people sometimes and are making the suggestion that this is who you should hire in your space. And I've learned a valuable lesson from some of the sage, and we'll get into it as to why that needs to happen. But I want to open up to my brothers, and we're going to start with the sage of the group and just ask him to just opine for a second on what it really means to go out and look for rock stars right now, what it means to recruit and retain them. We'll just deal with that piece right there. Brother Smothers.
Oh, thank you, Herman. And again, Brother President, I appreciate the opportunity to be here as a part of the H.E.L.F. Audience. And no doubt it's always an honor to be with my fellow presidents from Virginia Union. No doubt a rock star himself, and the president of your alma mater, Edward Waters College, doing amazing things. Brother Faison, it's just good to be with all of you. You've chosen a very interesting topic tonight, Brother Felton. I have given this a lot of thought, and I'm getting ready to enter my 7th year as the president of Philander Smith College. And so I just consider it to be a blessing to have been out, on the vineyard for historically Black colleges and universities. And I will say to you that aside from, and I've been in and out of some of your sessions today, aside from the affordability issue, which we know is a challenge for all of us, aside from the readiness issue, which we know is an issue for all of us, it takes a lot for us to wrap our students in what they need to be successful. I would say hovering in 3rd or 4th place, and you all may be different, we've all have our needs, is that the ability to identify the right talent and help to cultivate the next generation of that talent, right? So I go back to the 3 pillars, if you would, that I have always carried with me as a leader. And this was prior to becoming a president, and no doubt since becoming a president. And we talked a little bit about this during our last session together. At the top of my list, I always look for loyalty. Loyalty to my leadership and my vision, and more importantly, loyalty to the mission of the institution that I serve. You can teach someone everything that you need them to know to be effective on your team, although the preference should be and would be for them to come with a settled skill set, if you would. But if you have to, you can teach them. But what you cannot do is teach loyalty. It is a hard quality to find. And so I keep that at the top of my list. And whenever I am mentoring professionals, I always say to them when they ask me this question, what do I need? I say to them, for me, for this president, I need loyalty first. Now, for Herman Felton, it may be something different.
No, sir, it's loyalty first.
Right. And so the second thing for me is then competence. Right. And so it is not necessarily that I need you to be. So Herman, you and I came through the fundraising track. So did the rock star at Virginia Union. But it is not necessarily that I need you to come to the table to be as being an expert in fundraising, although I'm going to need you to raise a lot of money for me. What I need you to have is a comprehensive set of skills that are grounded in what I consider to be the most important 2 things: critical thinking and judgment. Because you can put all kinds of issues on the table, and if someone cannot go beyond Bloom's taxonomy with respect to information acquisition and move to the top to analysis and synthesis, then you've got a problem at your table.
Yeah,
I need someone to come with a skill set that is grounded in critical thinking and in good sound judgment. I said this the last time. Beverly Hogan once said to me as we sat in the fireside chat, Brother President,
at the office.
Yeah, absolutely, at the office. She says one of the things that people don't realize about what boards are looking for in presidents is something that is very simple, and it is the fact that they have good judgment. And that judgment is based on the fact that they have the experiences that have led them to that point in their lives. They've seen some things, they've experienced some things, and therefore when they see, excuse my language, BS in front of them, it is easy for them to recognize it. And so hence they come with judgment. The third thing that I look for in an individual, and perhaps the most, the simplest of them all, is simply commitment. I have to have someone who is committed, not just loyal, but who is committed to the work that we're doing, committed to the students that we serve, and committed to the institutions that we call historically Black colleges and universities. And for me, if you take those 3 things, loyalty, judgment, and critical thinking, and a good skill set and commitment, I think that those three things make for the best employee. And I know I didn't say anything about your degrees. I didn't say anything about credentials. I didn't say anything about your research, because those things are fundamental. We all come to the table with our own areas of expertise. But if you don't have those things, then in my opinion, you will never be able to grow into the type of leader that our historically Black colleges and universities need, and more importantly, that we need as presidents and the current day leaders of these institutions.
Brother Lucas, rock stars. Why is it important for us to find, recruit, and retain rock stars?
Well, first, I would like to say, thank you so much for this invitation and the great work that you're doing here at the Higher Education Leadership Foundation, where I proudly say I found myself, I found my voice, and I found community in historically Black colleges and universities. So thank you for being a father of a movement that is so necessary here today. Look, I love having to talk with President Smothers and President Faison Jr. It is a joy to always try to go into a space where you're pouring yourself out for others in public with people who you can trust their spirit, their minds, and the genuineness of the thought. So for all of those that are watching, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time this evening after a packed day to stay and hear from these four brothers and minds that are committed to the space and the work. Rock stars. Wow. Rock stars. Wow. Everybody wants to find a rock star. What is a rock star? For me, that is a person who, along with the three important traits that President Smothers identified, also somebody who you can see their future, and they agree that while you can see their future, they'll commit to the lessons that you're trying to teach them in the present. I know a rock star because I failed at finding them. Whether I was a president or a vice president, I always was looking for someone, and this is what rock star meant for me. I can count on to work for me like I worked for someone else.
Yeah.
I just wanted to find someone who was committed. And once again, President Smothers mentioned those three ideals that are so important, and particularly that loyalty at the top of the pyramid. But people who were committed to go through the hard work in the present to become what they wanted to be in the future. I think true rock stars understand the importance of the sacrifice of the current moment to do everything they need to do without the title, without the accolade, without the compensation, to prepare themselves for a great, great future. And I believe that I can add that to the dialogue. I've learned that rock stars are needed, but you can't have a team full of them. One, they're hard to find. Two, look, if they're not committed to the present struggle, they will not become what the future has endowed them with. And the primary lesson that I've learned, brothers, is that you can't want for someone more than they want for themselves. You can see all the potential in them, but you can't write the report for them. You can see their potential, but you can't do the preparation for them. And some are able to go through that. The honest dialogue that comes with rock star preparation, the honest dialogue that comes, the sharing, the vulnerability that's necessary. But all in all, we find rock stars because they have found themselves, and they're committed to knowing that I'm going to work with you in the present to become everything I want to be in the future. Man, I got some good things to say, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I don't know how much more I can say, but I will attempt to offer some nuance to certainly what President Smothers and President Lucas have shared. First, let me again say thank you to Dr. Felton and Dr. Pinkard, and Dr. Williams and Dr. French, the collective that make up the leadership of the Higher Education Leadership Foundation. It truly is I count it all joy to be able to be a part of this collective, this family. And so kudos to the work that you have done and that I know God has ordained you to continue to do. But I think, again, I think much of what Dr. Smothers has mentioned, as well as President Lucas, I can only say ditto to. I will offer that I'm not sure if from my vantage point, if rock stars is the right nomenclature in terms of what it is that I'm looking for. I believe that often leaders, good leaders, take on, in some sense, the personality, the mission, the grounding of their institutions. And in many respects, and I'm sure Dr. Felton will appreciate this, my institution is a diamond in the rough institution. It's an institution that has seen struggle, has seen pain, and out of that has shown resplendent diamonds. So I think my approach, as I am looking for members that will join the EWC family, and then more particularly the leadership team at the institution where I'm blessed to serve, is I'm looking for diamonds in the rough many times. I don't have the accoutrements that some other fill in the blank institution has. I don't offer the biggest salaries. I don't offer all of the shiniest buildings. I don't offer the 40 or 50 robust majors. And so there's a particular kind of leader that we're looking to bring on as a part of the family at EWC. And so often, I think Dr. Smothers mentioned it earlier, I'm not as concerned with credentials in the formal sense. Obviously, you've got to have those basic indicators that indicate that you have at least met a certain minimum mark. But beyond that, I mentioned this the last time that we spoke. Other than loyalty, which I certainly agree with Brother Smothers on that, I'm looking for persons that have an unquenchable, tenacious desire to be the best, to be the very, very best, not to be very good, not to even be great. I want to be the best. Mm-hmm. And so, I think again, what personifies, my philosophy is finding those diamonds that may not look, everyone else be like, why in the world did he hire her? Why did he hire him? Mm-hmm. This person has got, don't you know their history?
Yeah.
Don't you know their past? Don't you know what they said about them? Those are the ones that I want. Mm-hmm. The ones oftentimes that have been labeled rock stars, they believe their own hype. Mm-hmm. And often I've learned, and like President Lucas said, I've learned from experience, they're not going to work here. They're not going to work with me because they see themselves as rock stars. So I'm looking for those that again, that may be wanting and needing a second chance, because that's the personality of my institution. That's our history. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And so, as I think about it, I'm looking for diamonds in the rough.
My 7-year-old reminded me that words that sound the same but have different meanings are called homophones. And this is a 7-year-old that reminded me of that, real talk. And what Chris Brown showed us this morning, that the nuance of a word and the definitions, the multi-faceted definitions that come with them are really, really unique. He talked about being messy and petty. Messy in that he likes to disrupt space. petty in that he likes to exacerbate greatness out of details. I think what Faison just reminded us of is the need for us to define what rock star means, because for me, it is not and has never been about where you went to school, just as you all have articulated, where you went to school, what you did. No.
No,
It's
no,
about it's about what you bring to the collective. And I agree. And so for me, what I want, and I can be very simple and direct about what a rock star is to me. A person who will lean in with a yes, right? Yes, I will do the job. I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. A person who has the capacity to work across the institution, wherever they are, to get a stretch assignment done, because they're not a-holes or nasty or people who think that their title entitles them to just boss around. They have the capacity to work with folks. And more importantly, people who are, and this is something simple, who are kind. For me, that matters to me. So a rock star for me is somebody who's going to lean in with the yes, someone who has agency, who can walk around the institution and get a stretch assignment done, the impossible that they couldn't do by themselves, but because they have agency, they can get it done. And secondly, kindness, because I know this, people will do how they feel about you for what you ask them to do. They're not feeling you, they're going to do just enough because you're the vice president. But if they know that you're invested in them, they're probably going to do a little more. So for me, that is where I am with what a rock star is for me. And I'd like for you, Faison has articulated what that is for him, but I'd like for you two gentlemen to talk to me about what a rock star really is for you. You know,
I'm gonna yield. I'm gonna allow Dr. Lucas to go ahead and tackle this one first.
Okay.
Oh, well, I don't like talking before my big brother president, so I will try my best, brother.
none of us do.
All right. Well, I can say this, and I didn't want to be the first one to jump into
the water is warm, brother. Go ahead and jump on in there.
I do also believe in the power of the words and the power of word. When you say rock and star, to me, these words come together in a compounded way to remind us, I think, essentially of what I tried to say earlier, that we find rock stars only after they have found themselves. Mm-hmm. The question is, how do you find people who have found themselves? Mm-hmm. Particularly in a world like we have today, where there's so much that will cause you to lose sight of yourself. The first word, rock, is a word that all of us can be reminded of in the Gospel of Matthew in chapter 16, where Jesus is trying to find himself, and he's trying to find out who he is. And very quickly, he says to the people who are closest to him, his cabinet members,
yes.
Who do men say that I am? And many of them
preacher. Come on
ways of interpreting who the visionary is of the Jesus movement, of Jesus historically Black college and university.
A radical one.
But finally, there was one who was on the team who rightly was able to look at the work of the master and say, you are the Son of God. Mm. And Jesus says something so very important. He says, Simon, son of Jonah. He calls him by his name that his mama gave him. Mm-hmm. He says, flesh and blood could not have revealed this to you. This must have been a revelation that has come by God. The first thing is that when you are working for someone and you're connected through vision and value, you see what I'm trying to do, and that my mission at the institution is a divine mission that has been sent by God. If you think I'm political, if you think this is something else, if you don't see my purpose, if God has revealed to you where I'm going, then you can't be a rock. And then he says something after that. I mean, and you can go right to, it should be right at round about chapter 17 here, in chapter 16, verse 17.
Walk the text, Doc. Walk the text. Walk it, brother.
There's something very important after Simon has that revelation about his vision and his work. He then says, you are no longer Simon. Now you are Peter. Now you are a rock. And the gates of hell shall not be able to prevail against you. And I think that so many times a rock star first is someone who sees the vision of the leader, is committed to that vision by the revelation that is given by God, that they are supposed to work for you in the time period, in the context. I'll say that again. Some people are called to work for me, but not at Virginia Union. That you can work for me at Virginia Union, but your time has not yet come. You got to work for me 5 years from now. I'm not ready for you, and you're not ready for me. Right? So the fact that you know that you're supposed to work for me at Virginia Union at this time period allows for me to say, Michael, you now are a rock. And upon you, I can build my vision for institutional advancement. Susan, you are a rock, and I can build my vision for student affairs upon you. Matthew, you are a rock, and upon you, I can build my vision of finance. That's a rock. I think the star part is a constellation. It's the place where light shines in darkness. It's where direction can be given. So when you have people who have found themselves and they know they're supposed to be working for you at this place, in this time, you can build your vision for the place that you set them up on top of who they are, while at the same time, you change their name and you call them great, you call them rock, but they also become a star to the people, where because they can follow you, other people can follow them, because when trouble comes, they become light in darkness. For where there is light, darkness cannot exist.
Yes, sir.
And this is a rock star, according to Lucas.
Man.
Yeah, it's powerful. Very, very powerful, Herman. And, you know, one of the things I like about I like this thing about being called the sage in the group.
You are.
So one of the things that I always appreciated about Larry Irvin and Haywood Strickland and Dot Yancey and those sages was that every now and then they would sit back, Herman, and they would give us an opportunity to say something. Yeah. Not always, but every now and then. So in this particular instance, the Spirit led me to say to Brother Hakeem Lucas, you speak first on this question.
See what I'm talking about?
And see, as the sage, what I'm going to just simply say is amen to that.
Yes, sir.
And turn it back to you, Mr. Moderator, and say, we can move on to the next question.
I think so. I mean,
that sermon, we got that word.
He punctuated the
point.
Yes, sir.
I agree. He punctuated the point. But I think what I hope was not missed in that powerful sermon was a very simple notion. There were actually a couple of them. One, you have to know who you are first. And when you know who you are, then that makes the space a lot better. Second, it's this quantifiable spirit that a person has when they know who they are and they know what the hell they're doing. There's a confidence that comes with that.
You got to just say that again.
Yes, sir. When you know who you are and know what you're doing. I have a PhD. And what? What does that matter? Nothing. What matters to me more than your credentials is what we call in the Marine Corps, Roger, or in the military. You know this, right? Time and grade. What have you done in that time and grade? So I'm not a dull person who wants to, suppress people for having their credentials. No, I want you to have those, but be not dismayed. That does not entitle you to anything. Certainly not proximity, and certainly not position or title. So
absolutely.
What I lifted out of what Hakeem said was, you really have to know who you are and know what you're doing. And after all, we as senior administrators, why it's so important for us to find this talent is because there is a few folk who are preparing the meal for the family, right? And everybody around that table needs to be a contributor. And it is so critically important for us to be able to find people who can contribute. I want to pivot real quick and talk about the importance of curating now while you're leading, right? As leaders, why is it important for us to curate the next wave? I don't want a president, a vice president, a director, or even a technician around me who's afraid of smart people. I don't want you around me. I don't care if you are running an institution. If you have a problem with smart people shining, you have a real problem. Let's talk about why it's so important for us now, in this position that we benefit from immensely and we're blessed to be in. Why is it important for us to be worried about who's coming behind us right now in a good way?
I'll step out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
go ahead.
No.
happy to step out first.
Go ahead.
And again, I guess I'm just I'm being led by the Spirit this evening. Herman and brothers, because my responses are a little brief, but here's what I will say: that it's our responsibility. It is simply our responsibility. So when we sat around the table with those sages who ultimately handed us the torch, I can remember them always saying to us 3 or 4 things that have just stuck with me through my now, as I move into my 7th year journey as a president, defying the odds, right? Because we all know that the lifespan of an HBCU president is somewhere between 2 to 3 years, and you're damn lucky if you get to 4.
That's right.
But they would always say to us to pay it forward and invest in the current generation of leaders who are wanting to take these seats. There are only a little bit north of 100 of us as historically Black college and university presidents. And we're talking about rock stars to be on our teams. And when you quantify that, even those numbers are limited.
Yeah.
And so there's only so many slots out there.
Right.
And so as a part of the fraternity, of the sorority, it is our responsibility as presidents to make sure that there is a qualified pool of individuals who can step into these seats. That is our number one responsibility. Why is that our number one responsibility? Well, it is because these institutions need leaders and individuals who are going to be married to their missions. And not everyone can do that work.
Right.
And like Brother Lucas, I also believe that my appointment at Philander Smith College is one of divine intervention. It was when God interceded in my life at a time when I realized that this was my purpose in life. And so everything that has happened after then, in my opinion, has been ordained by God. And so when we identify people, I'll call young professionals in my office and I'll say to them, you're destined for greatness. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to get there. And I'll give them a project that they never, ever, ever thought that they would get. And then I will give them what they need to be successful with that project. And I'll follow back up with them in a couple of months to see how they've done. Don't micromanage them. Just say, hey, look, go get this. I gave such a project to one young man and he came back with the $850,000 grant for the college.
Wow.
Why is it that we must do that? Because they did it for us. And they said to us, this is your responsibility. And so before we retire, and that day will come, in the next 10, 20 years, we have to be able to look back, Herman, Brother Faison, Brother Lucas, and say, and I say this, and I do say this in a braggadocious way, right? I want to look back in 20 years and I want to be able to say how many of the young men and young women who were proteges of Roderick Smothers have made it to the presidency.
That's right.
I don't have any right now. And I've been in this thing 7 years. But if you ask Haywood Strickland, if you ask Dorothy Yancey, they can say, oh yeah, I've got Herman Felton, I've got Roderick Smothers. They brag about those things when they sit in those circles. But that was their responsibility. And so in short, we have to do it, Herman, because it is our responsibility. When we take the oath to be presidents at these institutions, when we marry ourselves to their missions, we say, we commit that we're going to make sure that they are sustained today and into the future. And that doesn't just mean making sure that students are coming through the gates every year. That means that we have leaders who are of courage and who are of competence and who are of loyalty sitting at the table to make sure that they can make the tough decisions that it's going to take to make sure that these institutions are sustained. So it's a responsibility.
Before you jump in, Faison, I want to put a pin in what happens to the young man and the young lady that you give the opportunity to give them the resources and they drop the ball. I want to talk about how we do that correction with them to help them not drop that ball again. Okay, so let's just remember that. But
I will just kind of briefly echo the same sentiments that President Smothers said in that regard in terms of responsibility. I like the word covenant. Covenant for me is I think for me more reflective of the incumbency that I know in terms of it being a binding promise that I made with Donna Oliver and Claude Perkins and others that poured into me. But they were very clear to let me know that I'm pouring this into you, but now you owe. Oh, this was not freely given. This was given because now you owe. There is a covenant. And so, I'm very sensitive to the word covenant because I don't believe in breaking covenant. There's a price to be paid for breaking covenant. I don't intend to pay that price. So it is something that, as Brother Smothers mentioned, that when I look back, I'm going now into my 3rd year, but hopefully as the Lord blesses me to continue to lead, that I'll be able to look back and be able to say these were the next generation of leaders and presidents and vice presidents and directors that are planted now throughout this space and are helping in the forward progression of our institutions. But to kind of what you mentioned, Herman, when we find that they've brought folks that we might have thought were rock stars, or in my case, diamonds in the rough, and it seems to be going left, as my students often like to say. How do we have that conversation? And I will say this has been something that as president that I've had to encounter. And sometimes they can be tough conversations, at least not from my vantage point, but tough in that my experience has been thus far that often folks don't want to be stretched. I just have to say, it's hard conversations. It's conversations that where I may say to you, "You messing up. You're not doing this the way that it needs to be done." And oftentimes, folks don't want to necessarily hear that, but you're doing everything that you possibly can to get them back on track. And often, it requires some stretching. It requires folks to be malleable, to be shaped, to not necessarily be so. I know what I know, and often what I hear is the theoretical. But the practical application of what you say that you know is not what I'm seeing. And so I think there often is a gulf. We use this kind of in our cabinet. If I got any of my cabinet members, I'm sure they're laughing right now because I often say to them, I say, there's a gulf There's a gulf here in terms of what it is that you're telling me that you know. Well, prayers, I got you. I know it. I got you. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing the manifestation of what it is that you're telling me that you know. So, it's having that conversation and saying, hey, you may know it, but this is a prove me business. This is a show me business. If you're in enrollment management, you got to increase enrollment. You can talk to me about the funnel and this and, if you're in development, you can talk to me about, cultivation and stewardship, but you got to raise some money. So, but often that's often a difficult conversation. But I think it's one that we have to have as leaders, and that as emerging leaders, as those that are coming up in the ranks behind us, it's important for them to learn that lesson, because I can say that now that I sit in the in the president's seat, it's about what you produce.
Yeah.
It's about what you produce. I can't go to my board and say, well, I know this, and here's all the things. Did you raise any money? Has the endowment increased? Has enrollment increased? These are the measurable objective standards for success.
Yeah.
And so it's having that conversation and helping folks to understand that practical application, it's what's going to be necessary to move them to the next step in their development.
Yeah.
I want before Hakeem hops in on this one, because I know he's going to give us a sermon and preach us on home, which we expect from a good alpha man. Herman, I heard you earlier on the session with my brother from Grambling and the other saying, you were so happy.
I was
to be in a room with some good nukes to have your back. Well, now you outnumbered by the alphas are here now. I just need you to know that the alphas are here. And this is not going to be an easy one for you tonight. But let me say this in the spirit of what Brother Faison just said, and I'm gonna be brief because I know Brother Lucas has to get in. Herman, when I like the fact that you acknowledge that when we identify rock stars and when we identify proteges, that every now and then they do drop the ball, right? So I'm a Trey. I was number 3 on my line. My line name was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so I'm known for having split personalities. Many of you all have seen evidence of that. But I like to also use biblically the number 3 for opportunity.
Yes, sir.
So for me, when I get that individual who may drop the ball, I give them, Herman, the same thing that I give my students when they come to me as freshmen. I give them patience. I give them love. I give them caring. I give them everything they need to be successful. When year 2 rolls around, I give them heat. I give them challenges. And I set very stern expectations. And by year 3, they get in the real heat. And unfortunately, if they don't deliver, I'm cutting losses. Now, some of you may say that's very harsh, Brother Smothers, but it's not. Because you don't have time at the end of the day. You're not running a daycare, right? You are here and you're running a business. And if you bring somebody on board, recognizing them that they've got the talent and the attitude to do what you're challenging them to do, and if by year 3 they can't deliver, then your investment needs to be another form of investment. Like you need to send them back to school. And in the meantime, you need to say, but we still have this work to do, and we're gonna get this work done without you.
Right.
But I'm still gonna invest in you, not gonna give up on you. You just can't do it in this position right here.
Yeah.
Now, if you're nice, you may find something else for them to do on your campus.
Right.
But if you really love them and if you really care for them, you'll push them on out of your environment into another environment and support them as a mentor should support a protege. So I just need to put that in.
Yeah, no, I think that's time.
I just want to say one thing before Dr. Luke, because I know Dr. Luke's gonna turn it out. But what more? If you're being chastised, and I don't mean that in a childlike way, but if you're being chastised, if I'm pushing you, if someone's pushing you, it's because they see something in you.
Yeah.
At least I don't know any president that wastes time having conversation, trying to push someone that they don't see anything in. I know I don't. I would rather just cut my losses. So part of curating that pipeline is, and I would say this to vice presidents and directors, if you're lucky enough, and I say lucky, they don't see it this way, but I do. If you're lucky enough to have a president somewhere that actually takes enough interest in you to be pushing you and prodding you, and you seem like he won't stay off my back, she won't stay off my back. You need to really be cognizant that that's an invaluable thing.
Yeah.
The persons that grew me the most were not the ones that were stroking my ego, telling me how wonderful I was and how I'm doing everything right. It was those that literally I could get no relief.
Yeah.
And it was in those spaces that I grew the most. So I just wanted to offer.
Yeah, I think what's really important, and there's a thread that's weaving here, is really this notion about doing good work and letting that work speak for itself, but also understanding that there are expectations. Sponsors and proteges. I really want to just touch really quickly on sponsors and mentors. Sponsors, I've said this before, invest in people. It's a symbiotic relationship. The sponsor looks for a protege who can deliver on several fronts for that sponsor. I am going to find you and help you be the best that you can be. But first, I need to benefit from what you have to offer. It's a quid pro quo relationship. A mentor is a linear relationship where they are there to give you advice. They don't have any skin in the game. And oftentimes we conflate those two definitions. You must have both. There are times when you need someone to just give you advice. But that sponsor is that person who is going to stretch you. That sponsor is that person who may not tell you how great you are, but they may continue to pile on work on top of work on top of work for you. I think we have to develop a very strong sense of love language or leadership language. We have to do that. And this is going to the question, Hakeem, about fit, right? So we're looking for these rock stars and we want to cultivate them right now, but let's help them understand how important fit is. What do they need to know about fit for Hakeem Lucas? What does that mean for Hakeem Lucas?
Well, I can tell you, brothers, it's been great hearing the conversation as it evolves. I like, what President Faison says about the necessity of the diamond in the rough, and how do you cover someone through correction. I think that is a concept I've been dealing with. But I also like what President Smothers talks about as far as the trust to give someone the opportunity, the joy when they deliver, but then the strength to know that after a period of time of inspecting a fruit, where I have to let you have an opportunity with someone else. And of course, President felt.
Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch how nicely he said that? They have to let you have an opportunity to find.
Oh man, look, I have
with someone else.
Let me tell you, when people who work for me tell me in their joy that they're leaving, I remind them I prayed for that blessing. When you think you're surprising me with your resignation, I'm surprising you with my intercession. And so I have prayed that God would bless you in California.
I'm going to take that one. I got to use that one. I'm writing that one down.
That the Lord will bless you somewhere else.
Boy, that's borderline unkind. I just want to put that out there.
But that is fit.
That's fit, I'm only kidding.
That fit often needs the second half of the word fitness. And sometimes we do a present progressive side of it called fitting.
Mm.
right? Often, the difference between, and then sometimes we do that hard verbal phrase called fitted, So you say, to be fitted means that you were tailored for an experience before you got there.
Mm-hmm.
That hat is a fitted hat. It has a size on it, and it was made for my head before the moment. When something is fitting, it means that it was tailored. It was constructed after its original point, but something happened that the tailor adjusted it so it's fitting me now.
Mm-hmm.
Either I had to lose weight or it had to lose some inches, but it's fitting, right? It's fitting. It's befitting. It's an amazing thing that how some things just work together for your good, and things that weren't for you become yours, and it's fitting you now, right? I think the other thing is fitness. That fitness implies that to keep something, you got to keep working to maintain the ability to have it. And so, if you want to be healthy, you got to maintain your fitness to stay in a race, to stay into something. And I think oftentimes we misappropriate the word fit. I think at the end of the day, right, something that I like, and I was saying that I like how, President Felton always deals with this leadership love language, right? And I like, and your thing is the sponsor and the mentor dichotomy, and the making sure we right size our expectations of those types of relationships that oftentimes bind us into the covenant that allows us to have the honest dialogue. But I would add, and to say to many of you who believe that you've been fitted or trying to see if something is fitting or need to increase your fitness, we must understand that we are in a business that is about building people. I build people. I don't destroy people. I don't limit people. I build people. And when you're in the business of building people, you realize how hard that business is.
Yes.
And I think that, I would like to shout out, maybe he's listening. I told him that I was going to do it. My provost, Dr. Strayhorn, Terrell Strayhorn, if y'all don't know him, an extraordinary man who is just doing a great job at Virginia Union, who God sent to me to do this work. And there was another young man who had emailed me, just did his PhD, said he wanted to talk to me about his future. His name is Jay Bryant, new Dr. Bryant just defended. And we were talking today, and I got Dr. Strayhorn, and he was looking for advice, but ultimately ended up probably be somebody that we'll hire in the future. And this is the conversation about fit. And I ended up saying to them after they ended up talking, saying, look, this is not a decision that I make. Ultimately, it's Dr. Strayhorn, provost, who will make this decision. But I said, is God sending you here? Like, what why are you coming here? Like, what is this moment about? And I think so many times we don't fit because we're trying to find the right money or find the right next thing or finding so many other things, but the purpose that God has for our lives. Yeah. And I think fitness is so about your ability to discern whether or not God is calling you to suffer, and you need to stay in that job that ain't paying you a lot right now for something that's going to happen in the future, or whether it's time to leave. Like, I'm so tired of professional runaways, people who just run away from one situation at the next situation because they are so bound to this notion of speaking for the work instead of letting the work speak for you. Look, man, stop speaking for the work. Stop telling me what you're going to do, what you can't do. No, let the work speak for you so that you can find this joy in working. Yeah. That's all I'm thinking about that right now, Doc. That fit for me.
Yeah, I see what you did there with fitted, fitting and fitness. That was pretty peculiar. No, not peculiar. That was pretty
Well,
dope.
Dr. Smollett said the threes. I was just
That was
trying to honor the
pretty
threes.
dope.
Typical alpha male.
Yeah, I'm paying homage to, the brilliance of the men of Alpha Phi Alpha. Okay, you got that out of me.
I'm glad y'all recording this.
We are as leaders, an acquired taste, right? We're not for everybody. I've recognized that my leadership style is not for everybody, and yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right.
There was a gift that was given to me by one of the sage in my village, Jimmy Jenkins, and that was the gift of an expectation of excellence.
Yes.
Period. It didn't matter what the job was. That gift was invaluable for me. And I always say that working for a baby boomer was the best thing that ever happened to me. So my gift was the continuum of excellence, that expectation. I want to hear from you, just, really quickly. What gift did you get, and what gift would you give to those who are coming behind us? What gift did you get from someone, and what gift would you give? Again, mine was the gift of understanding that it was non-negotiable, that continuum of excellence, and that gift that I would give to others is to study what it means to work for a baby boomer. And I'll give you a secret: it's about service. Serving and being served through your service. Lucas.
First and get out the way, because I know they're gonna. I can tell you, man. I remember, man, New Orleans. I believe it was a sax thing. We were celebrating the coming of I think Dr. Felton and Dr. French. One into Wiley, I thought it was, and then the celebration of you guys getting your PhDs, your second degree, doctoral degrees.
Yeah.
And I remember at the round tables, man, Dr. Strickland stood up and he said something that I would never forget. And I just thank God for the opportunity to eclipse many of these great stars as they were going in their place. He said, "We do not just go to a door and open it, but it is our responsibility to keep the door open." And I think that the one gift I received from, whether it's Dr. Jackson, Dr. Butts, all these great men that I've worked for, and women, not necessarily who were presidents, but who were there for me at various midwifing moments, is that you never underestimate the power of someone's belief in themselves. That if somebody says they can do something, man, believe in them, give opportunity. And maybe that's a better, cleaner way. Is that always provide an opportunity, man. Never count anybody out. Yeah. If somebody says that I can do it, give them a chance. And if they do it, great. If they don't, maybe you give them another one. My last, and just because on my mind, I'm gonna say it. My last one is the power of forgiveness. I think that so much politics begins where forgiveness could not reign. Oftentimes we just need to forgive people and just to learn in a moment to say, hey, man, you hurt me, I'm sorry. And it doesn't have to become political. It doesn't have to become all of that. Just forgive. The reason that they're talking about you, in the closets, in the basements, in the corners of the building is because they just don't understand the fullness of the vision. They haven't found themselves yet. And so between always give opportunities and learning to forgive, them baby boomers, I'm telling you, they taught me a lot.
I'm happy to jump in. Go ahead, Brother Faison.
Yeah, I would just say as I kind of think across the gifts, the many gifts that have been deposited by so many that came before me. I think what comes probably to the forefront of my mind is to never underestimate or underappreciate the miracle that is the historically Black college or university, and just what it is that these institutions have been and what they have done, and also the contemporaneous relevance of what it is that they are doing today. When I think about in the AME tradition, when you talk about Bishop Daniel Payne, right after the turn of the Civil War, sending Reverend Charles Pierce to Florida with uncultivated terrain, with literally slaves that had been turned out, quote unquote, freed, but freed to what? And you think about the miracle that was the church establishing this institution at a time when we had nothing, and from nothing literally has spawned so very much. And how 154 years later, in the case of Edward Waters College, that work continues to this day. How we take those that others may have cast as unworthy or incorrigible, and how they're shaped. And I mean, the living testimony of that, in some sense, is right on this call with Dr. Felton. Anyone that knows his story, I mean, to not underestimate the miracle that is, and to understand truly that this is in fact God's work. That many times you're going to have to rely, and I've lived this as president. You're going to have to rely on the supernatural. You're not going to be able to figure it all out. You're not smart enough. You don't have all the answers. You don't have the resources. Sometimes you just got to be able to get down on your knees, like Reverend Charles Pierce did when he came down here to Florida, and say, Lord, help me, help me. And be willing and be vulnerable enough to do that, and to know that God is in control and that indeed God will provide. And I think that in many times we can think too much of ourselves and all of our theoretical and all that we know and all, but to never underestimate the miracle that is these institutions, and the transformative power of God operating through these institutions to reshape the lives of the students that we're blessed with serving. So I think that's the one gift that's been imparted to me.
Yeah. So I'll say real quickly, Herman, in my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, we have a motto that says, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. And
Yes,
while many things drew me to the fraternity, its ideals and its principles and precepts were certainly center to the drawing, the magnet that attracted me. The gift that I appreciate most, the most, is the gift of service. And you mentioned it, Brother Felton, service in the sense, first of all, that God has given me the opportunity to serve his people, to serve these young folks who are still searching for themselves, many of whom did not even believe that college would be possible for them, that God would give me a ministry that would allow me to serve people who look just like me and who were in situations just like I was in when I was their age. God blessed me with that ministry as the president of an HBCU to be able to serve at that level. And then Herman, he gave me a group of wise men and women under whom I could learn.
Mm-hmm.
And every opportunity I got when sitting in the circle of those wise men and women, I'd get up and I'd fix them a drink, or I would get up and go and get the salt and pepper shaker for their table. And folks would say, well, why
Get
are
the
you doing
wing.
that? You're a president too. And you know what I would
Mm-hmm.
say? Because they deserve this level of service.
That's right.
And it's not about the salt and pepper shaker or the drink. It is because that group of individuals instilled in me the level of excellence that is needed to serve our institutions to make sure that they can thrive and survive today and in the future. But then now to bring this full circle, Herman, and that's why I just give so much credit to you and Melva and Tony and Brother Dees and Brother French, that you would create an opportunity. It's almost the final addition to the trifecta, if you would, of service that would allow me then to come into a circle of practitioners and educators and researchers and serve them by simply sharing with them those things that have been afforded along my journey.
Yeah.
And serving them with the little knowledge that I have through the experiences that God has given me through service in such a way that it would inspire them to continue the legacy. So for me, it is all about service. That is the gift. And during this season of Advent, I think it's most important for us to remember that it is all about serving others. And that when we do that, we honor the Christ child whose birthday we will celebrate in just a few weeks, who was sent into this world to serve and ultimately be the sacrifice for all of us. So for me, it's service.
Man, that thread, the themes that no matter who is speaking, undeniable. It is about service and this unapologetic, boastful notion that we love God and that God is the reason why we exist, is the reason why we're doing this work, and know that because we sit in a seat, we get to see some things that happen that we know ain't no other person, bad grammar, good communication, ain't no other person capable of doing what has been done for many of us, not just at the presidency level, but when you get there, there's these things that come around called payroll.
There you go.
And
Talk
so
about it. Talk about it.
those things, when that's a whole type of different religion right there, man. That's a whole different type of religion. So
that's called faith.
It is faith. It is. And I think, central to that is this notion of being a good person, right? And I think oftentimes I want to shift to what it means to be corrected and still liked. Sometimes we have these situations where people, and you touched on it, Faison, that when you are helping people to understand their greatness, it is not always going to feel good. And I had to learn this as a young person who, I'm not afraid to say it. I came to Jimmy Jenkins out of law school, and having worked at Murray State University, where I worked in the president's office at an institution that was 10 times the size of Livingstone College. And Murray State University called itself Kentucky's Ivy public Ivy school. And it thought that much of itself. The credentials and the rigor. And when I was teaching there, I understood what they meant. And I thought I had a firm grasp on writing. And I'll never forget the first memo I wrote for Dr. Jenkins. And I mean, I dropped it off maybe 10 minutes later. He called me and asked me, was that a draft or was that my final submission for him? And I didn't know how to answer the question, but I was not going to lie. And I said proudly, sir, that's the draft. I've been working on that, for a day and a half. And he said, come here. True story. Came there. He gave me the paper and it was red. It was bloody. It was bloody. And I walked out of there and legitimately cried. I was embarrassed that I let him down. It wasn't about anything else, because I understood in our conversation, I understood as a student of his what was the standard. And I thought I met that, but he took me to a level that I did not know that I could reach. How do we help people reach that level without fracturing them to a space where they can't come back from it? How do we do that? Because that's a part of helping these leaders get to where they need to be. We need to be able to correct them without killing them, right? And he did that for me. But again, for me, it was about never letting him down. It wasn't about anything else. It was just, I felt I didn't meet the standard. And so, but he was very methodical in how he dealt with me about it. It wasn't, this is dog trash or whatever. It was this, yeah, let's try this again.
Right.
How do we help?
I'll just say real quickly that I think, if I can be self-reflective for a moment, I think that's something that even as a leader, I am still learning and developing. And I think what I'm finding to be the key is to make sure that I'm operating with balance, meaning that when there are times that you need to strongly admonish and correct, they should also be balanced by acknowledgement when folks do well. Say that they do well. Make sure that, the same way that you may have the same energy, as our students like to say, use that same energy, keep that same energy. Keep that same energy when they do well. Make a vociferous proclamation, that they've achieved something. And so I think it's about making sure that you're nuanced and properly balanced as you're wanting to grow members of your team. But I also will say this: you also have got to grow some thick skin. You've got to grow thick skin. You've got to be able. If you're not willing to hear the criticism, if you weren't willing to hear Dr. Jenkins say, "Don't ever bring and put something like this in front of a president again," you wouldn't be sitting in that seat that you're in today. There's no doubt about it. And so you've got to be willing to be corrected. You've got to matter of fact, you've got to invite. Part of the reason that you're there, in some sense, I would hope, if you have aspirations beyond where you are, is to grow. And growth doesn't feel good. I just came through a personal journey of losing 60 pounds. That didn't feel good. I had to get up every morning at 5 a.m. and walk those 5 miles. I'm still doing it. I was hurting, my hip hurting. I done turned 40 now. I know that's still relatively young for some folks, but it don't work the same way it did when I was 25. It doesn't feel good. Yeah. But if you want the eventual result, you got to go through the pain. You got to go through those times where maybe you got to go off and cry a little bit and wipe your tears and then get back in the game.
Yes, sir.
But I think as leaders, we do have to help to make sure that we're balanced in terms of how we are admonishing, but at the same time praising when it's appropriate and necessary.
Yeah.
Ooh, good Lord. Oh, this topic. Oh, I like this part. Let me tell you first, President Faison, you look good, dog. You look good.
Thank you, I appreciate you. I appreciate it. We trying. It snuck up on me. We trying.
Hey, man, I think that, let me just talk to all of those who have previously worked for me first.
Oh, Lord. Yes, here we go.
Be listening, who previously worked for me, who I have prayed you into your new level of success. First of all, I want to thank you for helping me strengthen my prayer life. I think that is underestimated value, that, we still pray for you, right? Even when we may be frustrated by you. I think that's the first thing we do, is we still pray for your good. The way we hurt people who have an opportunity, who are not ready, we help you by still praying for you and just praying and just covering you. I mean, it's just an amazing thing that when I think about how much time I take to pray for those who are not who they think they are, you know, and not that they're enemies, because Jesus said, pray for your enemies. Yes. But also you got to pray for your disciples who ain't ready to lead yet. And you gave them the opportunity, but they can't do no miracles, man. They can't do miracles. And it takes miracles to do this work sometimes. I think that the next thing I've learned is to use the organizational chart to know when they're not ready to report to me. Sometimes they're ready for the job and they're ready to grow in the organization, but they can't report to me because, you know, what I need from my direct reports, the standards, you just, the type of feedback that I got to be honest to you. I don't have a lot of time for you to, you know, go through the, you know, all the words and the talking and want to remind me of your resume. I've learned to use the organizational structure and let them report to the COO. So I thank God, Dr. Carter, if you're listening, thank God to you. Thank you for working with the people who were not ready yet to work with me directly, but still were important to the university. I appreciate that, and to grow. I think that the third lesson that I've learned in building people to become rock stars is to learn the lesson of what I call slow is fast and fast is smooth. To honor the time of onboarding. It is so important to onboard people right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we rush into a position because we have an issue and something we need to fix and a hole we need to fill. And sometimes we got to slow down and let people go through the process of onboarding and learning the culture and learning what you need for them to do, and don't rush them to the work too fast and allow them for it. The last I've learned to do is to, I think it was President Faison said it earlier, and President Smothers tapped on it, but the one word that I've learned as a higher educational leader, particularly in the historically Black college and university setting, the one word that is often elusive is gratefulness. Our time as leaders aren't often appreciated by the cup that is being filled with our water. The cup doesn't often know how to appreciate that it's being filled with water. And so I've learned and had to adopt an understanding that gratefulness sometimes comes after they've moved on. And they will call you back and they say, now I know, now I understand, now I appreciate. And I think, and because of the elusiveness of gratefulness, we oftentimes have to embrace our silence. And the fact that, I didn't say anything, I did not respond to that. You are messy, right? You are petty, but I don't have to say it, right? And just to begin, and people sometimes say, he's ignoring me. No, I'm not. I'm just embracing my silence, that I've learned that everything doesn't have to be said. I don't have to say it. And you know it, and it will begin to speak to you. And I think that all of us have seen it and learned that people will achieve gratefulness over time. And they will, and I think you mentioned it, President Felton, and I appreciate it because that is my story too. That the leaders that I've worked for who have meant the most to me were the hardest on me.
Right.
And I didn't really like them.
Yep.
Like working for Dr. Jackson. Dr. Jackson was hard.
Yeah.
Because, excellence means no excuses. And that was hard, to not be, he did not accept my excuses. He didn't accept when I was less than myself. Dr. Butts, man, working for a Kappa, man, that was hard.
That's who you are. fine as you are now, my brother. That's why.
But see, Dr. Butch was so unusual because he would sit and say, Lucas, the first 5 minutes of this conversation is critical to my continued listening. And after 5 minutes, Doc, if he wasn't there, I hope you watch it, Dr. Butts. I love you, man. I love you. But he would get up and say, you have not earned the 6 minute. I'll talk to you later. I got to go. And it was 5 minutes to show why what I was doing or saying was important.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it there. I know President Smothers, come on. I know you got something, Doc.
Hey, it's hard to follow you, man. So look, I'm gonna just connect it back to something I said earlier, and that is, if we embrace the fact that it is our responsibility to make sure that the next generation of leaders and rock stars are cultivated for these institutions, if we indeed embrace that, then I think that we owe them, in accepting that responsibility, three things. I think we owe them our genuine commitment, meaning we are genuine with them in every interaction. I think we owe them our painstaking honesty.
Yep.
And we owe them, if you would, the reality that we have a discernible commitment to the institution. And if we accept the fact that we are responsible for the preparation of the next group of rock stars for these institutions, then we can't, Herman, allow them to turn in products to produce work that is less than excellent.
Standard. That's right.
Right? And so, yeah, I've had many of the red paper days, just like you did when I started my journey.
Yeah.
But I use those to build myself.
Yeah.
And so I always say to my proteges, those in whom I'm investing for this work, that I'm going to always be genuine. I'm going to always be honest with you. And more importantly, you will never, ever have to question my commitment to the college or to you.
Right.
And if you come from that position, most people will accept and embrace the fact that you are giving them constructive criticism, be it in your writing, be it in your speeches, be it in how you handle a student situation. Most people will accept that. And those who do not, then you need to circle back and question whether or not they are the right ones to be on the journey.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep it short and simple on that one. And sometimes we're not willing to do that. We see those qualities. They slap us in the face, but we ignore them. And that is when, in my opinion, we don't live up to the responsibility that we have to make sure that the next generation is prepared.
That's good. That's rich.
The legalese for that is a fiduciary responsibility. That we have. And I just want to put a little game on in the space. If your president or your boss is quiet, not responding to emails, doesn't have much contact with you, you need to do one or two things. You need to do one or two things.
Yes, sir.
You need to leave, or you need to earnestly find out why that silence. Silence is a powerful tool that is used by those who are in power. And the isolation that comes when silence is, it to me is my most lethal weapon. And it is not with malice. Sometimes because I'm, from Pottsburgh, I'm still trying to learn how to harness the civility. So I have to be quiet, because if I say something, it's not going to come out right. Right. So I haven't learned how to do that just yet. I'm still working on that. But that's the game. If your boss is quiet, let me be very clear. you need to do two things. You need to find another place, or if you want to be there, you need to find out why that silence has befallen you.
Hey, President Felton, I say it this way. I say my silence is the door to your exit.
And it's not something that you're laughing at. For me, I understood so this goes back to the love language, right? Or the leadership language. I knew that when Jimmy Jenkins was quiet and he was doing that Heisman pose to me, I had not done something that he had expected of me. So because I knew him so well, my anticipatory game was second to none. I knew Jimmy Jenkins better than he knew himself. I still feel that way right now to this day. I had no problems with driving for him. I had no problems with relieving him when he had a tough day. I had access to his schedule and I saw no breaks. I went to Subway and got that vegetarian sub. No problem. I didn't need him to know that I got it. I'm giving that to his assistants. Hey, Doc gonna be in here all day long today. Make sure he gets this to eat, right? I knew from him the expectation, what service looked like, and I embraced that. And so it was easy for me when I felt resistance, it was easy for me to course correct. And it didn't bother me to course correct because I had the number one beeper and I wasn't letting it go. That number one beeper meant a lot to me.
You got to do something on that, Brother President, in the future. Right. Teaching people how to learn the leader. I mean, how do you learn about your leader? And to know that every leader is different. The leader can only go so far as to learn you.
Right.
And they're trying to learn your name, right? And the fact that your leader knows your name is not to be underestimated.
Or undervalued.
This goes back to that sponsorship and protege. When you do great work,
that's it.
When you do great work, you will, I don't care who try to muzzle, it doesn't matter. That great work will be noticed by the president at the institution, because the question is going to be, damn, who did this?
Who is this?
Right? Who did this?
Man.
Yeah.
So the key is doing great work.
Yeah.
You could ask those who have worked for me here at Philander, when I am working with leaders in the space, I typically will recommend and or give them one of two books. The first one is The Speed of Trust. Because for someone to work with me and be on my team, there has to be this trust loyalty factor that I mentioned earlier. Right. So critically important. But the second one is what you just said in the book and it's called How to Manage Your Boss. It's our responsibility to learn how to manage our boss, right? I took pride in learning how to manage Larry Irvin and Joanne Haysbert. And to your point, Herman, when I got that beeper, when I earned that beeper, no one was going to violate that trust factor for me. And so, be it driving, picking up meals, whatever it took, that was going to be me because they trusted me to have their backs and to do that. So excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, my name at Livingstone was synonymous with work. You knew I was loyal to Jimmy Jenkins, and you knew that I was going to do what I needed to do to get that done. And I didn't have to be nasty. I don't know that I celebrated a level of like around the institution. I can promise you those that did not particularly care too much for me was probably because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I was very simple in the way I worked. Look, there's work to be done. Let's get it done. We can celebrate after yonder. But right now, we're going to get this work done. Implicit in that is, this notion of knowing who you work for. Earlier today, we heard, panelists talk about people knowing who they are. We've talked about it here as well. This dream to be where you want to be has to be handled in a way that is nurturing on its face, right? When young people come to us, we want to be a part of their journey, want to help them get to where they want to be. The nurturing aspect. What precludes you as leaders, because implicit with nurturing to me is trust. What is the way? The Speed of Trust is a great book, and I've read it. Roderick, how is trust earned? And I know that's a simple question, but I think each of us, the answer could be different. How is trust earned, and why, particularly for cabinet level members? And this is for those who are moving up the ranks. They need to understand that if you don't have a trustworthy bone in your body, you're probably never going to get to where you want to go, and you'll be dismayed, because you can't figure out why you can never get to this space. Tony Piegard talks about discernment all the time, and for us that sit in the seat, after a while, we all have different levels of discernment. But trust, why is that important, and how is that earned?
Well, Herman, some folks approach it from, there are two positions from which you can approach it. Obviously, there's the position of deficit and the position of surplus.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that their trust must be earned. Others say that you have my trust and it's yours to lose. I'm in the middle, admittedly. I'm in the middle because I feel that one of the gifts with which God has blessed me is the gift of discernment. And so I don't always give all of my trust, and nor do I put myself in the compromising position to believe that you're going to do everything to keep my trust. In the book, The Speed of Trust, it talks about 3 ways in which you can establish trust. And it's among many, but the 3 that kind of stick with me or have stuck with me over the years has been through your deeds and actions, meaning that you are an individual who through your deeds is constantly showing that your deeds and your actions are aligned with the vision and mission of that leader who is sitting in that seat and whose trust you have to earn. So I'll give you an example. At my institution, everyone knows that I'm a spiritual man. I go to church. I know the scripture. I pray all the time. And so I have individuals who will oftentimes make it a point to me to let me know that they went to chapel on Thursday or they went to church on Sunday. Typically, I'll invite them in. Oh, what did the preacher preach about? But from the time, and I like the 5 to 6 minutes that you used a moment ago, Hakeem, from the time they come in and tell me about that sermon and what it meant for them within 2 or 3 minutes, I know that if you were just sitting in that church to warm the seat that day, or that you really did get something from that. So you, through your deeds and your actions, you earn that trust. The second area that the book suggests is through the completion of assignments with excellence and quality. So I give you an assignment, you come back with it and with what is tantamount as an A+ grade on that assignment. And the more you do that, the more the leader is going to have confidence in you to be able to deliver A+ products. You have gained trust. The one area that the book points out that blew me away, however, was the one that perhaps is the one that we underestimate the most. And that is actually going to that leader and asking for that trust. Now you think about it.
I don't even know how that works.
Yeah. You think about it. You read, and again, Herman, you've read this book, so I know you know this already.
Yeah.
You go to that leader and you're asking for his or her trust. So you're on the cabinet. You're having your monthly one-on-one or every other week one-on-one with that president, and you're wrapping up your conversation. You've gone through all of your assignments. completed them with excellence. Your deeds have been in line. Your actions have been in line with the leadership of that leader. And at the end, you say to that leader, Mr. President, Madam President, what do I have to do to earn your confidence and trust?
Yes. That's
most leaders will tell you, but most
immediately.
of us, they'll tell you immediately, but most of us, Herman, never get to that point because we never think that trust is something that we can ask for.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I tell, you know, my cabinet members and others all the time, I give them the book, Here is the Speed of Trust. And I know that they haven't read it because they're not using anything in the book on me. I'm giving you the book by which I subscribe with respect to leadership and expect you to read it. And in 6 months, you've not come back to me with anything that book says that would suggest to me that I can't even trust you to read this book. And so how can you ask me for my trust?
Wow.
You know what I like about Covey and Merrill? I also do the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We talk about also.
I like that one too, Hakeem.
And you know, I think it's so wise. First of all, the fact that we read with you. I mean, man, to read with the team, to give you, because who I am is so much about what I feed myself with. And to allow you to eat from my table, my spiritual table, is me giving you a bibliography that can go with you. So I had to talk about it because I give people a lot of stuff to read.
Yes.
And those who have formerly worked with me, you still have those books.
Yeah.
And to those who work with me know there's more coming. But Merrill, I think Covey and Merrill have this great, and if you remember one of their key points, and I think President Smothers talked about it, we dealt with it earlier. It's about, you know, trust. The other dimension of it is being able to build trust in yourself, right? and you know, you can't trust someone else if you don't trust yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have so many unresolved issues in ourselves that sometimes make it hard to cultivate the trust that's needed to do great work. There's a certain level, there's a great trust that's needed to do a great work because of this covenant and this relationship that we have. And so oftentimes we say it, look, trust the process, right? Just when you know, you can't just trust the process, you got to trust people too. If you don't trust people, then we're not going to be able to do a strategy that can lead to a process that we can do. And I think that in that dimension of Covey and Merrill, when they talk about trusting, developing that self-trust, they go through those four cores, right? And I like of the 4 cores. I like that next one is being able to cultivate our results, right? And so, you know, going from intent to results, but just results. And so many times we talk about being on this relationship result continuum. And we want the trust that's in relationship first. And where you know me.
I don't.
Sometimes that's right. I just met you. I know you 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you know, but to trust the results, the fact that I put this task in your hand and you're going to get back the results that we're all measured and metric by is an amazing thing. And I would say to everybody out there, you know, if you know, trusting people is the business that we're in. And you can trust processes, but you got to learn to trust people. And you don't trust people if you haven't worked on trusting yourself. I know what I am going to do because I have the integrity. If you remember, Brother President, the next one is intent. I know what my intentions are, right? I know I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. That's not who I am. I know my intention. I know why I'm here, and I know what you're going to get from me. And then I'm very, very clear over and over again about my capabilities, which is that 3rd core, right? I know my capabilities. I know what I can and cannot do. So I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver. And I understand. I trust my results. That it's not just going to be about my content, but it's going to look good. It's quality. It's going to be polished. And with my integrity, with my intentions, with my capabilities, and with my results, I trust myself enough to trust people. Sorry,
I'm
but I like that
Yeah.
book.
no.
Yeah.
That's on point. I gave my executive cabinet and my president's cabinet, or the executive cabinet and the president's cabinet, a book. And it's called Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor by Sylvia Ann Hewlett.
Mm.
And this book clearly delineates the difference between the sponsor and the protege. Here's how what Roderick said about deeds matters. I gave the book to my executive cabinet a week before I gave it to my president, the president's cabinet. Two people on my president's cabinet, the AVPs and belows, the directors, ordered the book on a Friday, had the book on a Saturday, and called my office on a Monday to have the conversation. So that was the assignment. Read the book, and then we're going to have a 1 hour conversation, me and you, about this book, because I'm committed to turning the culture of leadership on this campus. And it's not just me, it's the cabinet and the AVPs, right? So I have this unbelievable, mind-boggling chatter. Why is he giving us a book to read? Don't he know what we got to do? I'm the fucking president. I got to do what you got to do too, plus more, and I'm reading, right? But the lack of understanding to really appreciate the gift of being able to spend time with the president was astonishing to me. And you talked about that 5 minutes, Hakeem. In 2 minutes, I knew whether you read that book or not.
Yeah.
And what that has done for some people is elevated some, and it has de-elevated others. And they lack the mental requisite to even understand that coming into my office is sacrilegious when I have to put on boots to walk through the bull that you're spitting at me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people understand the gifts that are given. Proximity is a big deal, number one.
Right.
But the opportunity to show that you have the capacity and the agency to take an assignment that was so simple, a 3-hour read, and knock that out of the park and have an engaging conversation with your boss, I would have killed for that opportunity.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Jenkins.
Yeah. I think for me, I see trust on a continuum. So I've heard it described. I think Brother Smothers alluded to it. But for me, if I've hired you, then I have trust at that point in your professed capacity.
That's the trust in the bank right there.
Right. You profess a certain level of capacity. And so I trust you at the level of professed capacity at that point. Now, as we move on that continuum, the next level for you is to earn my trust in terms of your demonstrated now competence. And I think that for me, that's where there are varying levels at different members on the cabinet, on the team, as to where they are on that continuum. So I think that kind of goes to probably the second pillar that you mentioned, Brother Smothers. For me, it is your production of work at an A+ level. I'm an 80s baby. I was born in the 80s, so I'm trust but verify.
Yeah.
I'm trust but verify. I tell my folks, you got to inspect what you expect. Okay, so for me, it is in order to earn my trust, I need to see that you've demonstrated competence, meaning that if you say that you're going to do X, Y, and Z, then you've produced, it gets done. And once I see a pattern of that, then I can say, hey, I know Doc's got that. That they've proven over time that if they say that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, hey, now my attentions can be elsewhere. Yeah. Otherwise, I tell my team all the time, and they can. I know that some of them are probably laughing right now. You have then invited executive intrusion. I'm not microman, but you are inviting me now to have to come in and do your job for you. They always, you get out my business. I'm in your business because you have not demonstrated competence.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to be getting in your business, but that many times, because if I got to get in your business and do it, then I don't need you.
Yeah.
Talking like you been there, brother. Talking like you been there.
You know, those are the different, I think, continuums on that trust line that hopefully I'm pushing all of the folks that make up our team here at EWC to get to that level of demonstrated competence, so that then you can reach the level of earned full trust.
I wrote that one down,
Trust
Doc. I like that one. You have invited executive intrusion. Now, look, I've always said trust but verify, but man, look, thank you for that one. You are inviting
That's a different level,
executive
right?
intrusion.
Yeah.
But you know, I want to say something, brothers. You know, I think, you know, trust is such a powerful word, and it's so beautiful, because if we talked about it on the other side, once you achieve trust in your team, boy, like you can now embrace a word called vacation.
Right, I can be president then. Right, I can vision and plan, and there you go.
Like you don't have role conflict. You know, you can get work done. The environment, there's a great word that comes after trust: peace. Another great one, right? Productivity.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, I mean, like, trust is just the root of every.
It is. Absolutely. That's
And
good.
I love that word, trust.
You know, this always happens with us, right? Look up, and we've been here for an hour and 48 minutes. And it's wonderful. And at the same time, I think it's prudent for us, because I know you brothers have worked a full day to cut across the field. And I am going to ask each of you, in your parting shots, to just leave the people with a little bit of hope, sprinkled with challenge, and covered with some realism. Hope, challenge, and realism for climbing the ladder, being identified by a sponsor as you demonstrate what it means to be a protege. Will there be any takers?
Well, since I'm the sage,
yes, sir.
I'm gonna go last.
You go.
Since I'm the oldest one in the group.
I'm gonna do this for y'all real quick. Faison, you got to go first.
Yeah, I'm getting to say, you know, I'm always, you know, I'm the.
You don't have to do it to
Faison.
I'm the novice, I'm the baby of the group always.
There are some behind you. You just need to vet them.
I'm working hard to pull up this next group, so I can graduate. You know, to being the knee baby like Dr. Lucas, and then one day be the sage like Brother Smothers.
Hey, Faison, there are a few behind you. You just need to vet them before they get to come up in the house, bro. That's it. You just hurry up and vet them, and they come up in here, and you won't be the deal.
We waiting on y'all. We waiting on y'all. Well, let me just say first, you know, as we close again, I want to sincerely thank Dr. Felton and the entire H.E.L.F. team. You know, Greg Dees and Melva and Pinkard, and this has been an amazing day. Let me just say, and I don't think this is hyperbole, this has been a historic day.
Man.
I don't know of any other entity that has brought to our space collectively over the course of an entire day the kind of insight and sage wisdom and practical information that the Higher Education Leadership Foundation continues to bring and has brought here today in this. So I just want to say to you, Brother President Felton, and to the entire H.E.L.F. team, how much Uh, I appreciate the work that you all do. It is not without a lot of work. You all make it look effortless, but we know that it's not an effortless exercise. There's much work that goes into it, and so I want to acknowledge and honor you
Thank you, brother.
and the entire health team
Thank
for the
you.
work that you do in helping to continuously feed into this sacred space, as you like to call it, Dr. Felton, aka HBCU. So I will say this kind of as we kind of think about this topic on the whole around uh, the next generation of leaders that we are incubating and cultivating to be in this space. And I'm always on the sales pitch. So I think I'm gonna leave with a kind of sales pitch, if
Yes,
you,
sir.
in terms of what it is that I know that I'm desirous of at EWC, and that I think there's some synergy around what I think we're all desirous of. I'm looking for apostolic radicals. Apostolic radicals.
That boy bad.
So the word apostle literally means one who is sent by God. You've heard us earlier talk about being God sent. Apostolic literally translates to one being sent by God. You think about the word radical. The etymology of the word radical is root. To really deal with the fundamental essence of something. And so I'm looking for those to come to EWC. And I think we're looking for those collectively to come to this HBCU space, being sent by God, and also one who is concerned about the radical, the root, the fundamental transformation in many cases of these institutions. And also looking at, again, as we focus on their progeny, their founding, how do we tap into that spirit to continue this long tradition of excellence and making the difference in the lives of the generations of students that we've been blessed to serve. So if you're looking for a place,
My man.
if you're thinking about, if you've ever thought about, well, what is old Faison doing down there at Edward Waters in
Come
Jacksonville?
see.
I'm letting you know now, I'm looking for apostolic radicals.
My man.
Apostolic radicals that are God sent. So if you leave me, it doesn't bother me, because I know, again, this is not just a good work, it's a great work that's ordained by God. And because we're looking for apostolic radicals, I want God sent folk, not folk that are coming because of personality, but they're coming because they were sent by God. And then we want radicals. We want folks that want to work and get to the root of things, to really bring about transformation as we begin to continue enhancing what we do at the state of Florida's Destination Institution of Emerging Eminence here at
bad.
Edward Waters College. Thank you, brothers.
Listen, I'm amending.
I love
I'm
hearing my
amending
man
the
talk.
question. I'm amending the question. Hey, run out, Hakeem.
No,
Run
I mean,
out, because he just ran out. So y'all go ahead and run out. Just run out.
Hey man, look, I once again joined President Faison, and I know my brother President Smothers is going to do it, but the radical leadership of H.E.L.F to plant a flag in this space and to annex back from others the importance of historically Black colleges and universities.
Give me that.
We get to speak for ourselves.
Yes, sir.
And to do that to be the first to do an all-day, one-day conference during the pandemic virtually, and about us, for us, not sponsored by anybody else, but that is curated, cultivated, and funded by us. I mean, it's just an amazing thing, and you all need to be celebrated, supported, and everybody needs to continue to run to H.E.L.F for this type of learning. Your question was about How do we inspire those that are listening and those that who will listen one day to this, about how do you grow that ladder, grow up that ladder, and then how, when you get to that ladder, how do we reveal to you a certain model of leadership that ultimately can inspire you with some level of hope as you ask for to continue your growth and your work and your service. I mean, you know, I don't know where Faison gets these new words that I always learn when I listen to him.
That boy smart.
Strings them together. You know, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my Bible in a book. Lord Jesus, my word choices would be so slim.
Listen, vocab grows exponentially every time I'm around A. Zachary.
I'm telling you, man.
I just write the words down. That's it. Just write them down.
I'm telling you, I would, you know.
Law books. What can I say? you got to sit there with Black's Dictionary.
Yes,
you know what that is. You know what that is, Doc.
Yes, absolutely.
I tell you, I think that is probably one of the first things that we must say to all of those who are listening. Be wise and discerning about the people you surround yourself with. Because you will one day become your friends or your boss. You'll become your friends or your boss. Or the spirit of one of those groups will get inside of you. And so I think it's very wise as you climb the ladder to make sure that you're growing friendships and that you're sitting under leadership that you would not be ashamed to become. I think, as we talk about what we look for in our own individual seats, at Virginia Union, I try to always say, I don't hire people, but I build teams. So I'm not really looking for a person, but a people. I like the concept of apostolic radicals. I think that is that's a beautiful concept when you collide all the things that those two words mean. I think for me, I just am so convinced that the prophets who spoke over my life decades ago, who saw my today, they also had a caveat to this moment of my leadership. The prophets had said about me that the Lord would also send helpers to me who would have a vision for what God has given me, and they would implement the vision that God had and the dreams that God had given them in my leadership moment. So I know I have to look for people with vision, people who just not are able to articulate the vision, but are able to implement the vision. I think that's the differentiator for me when I'm looking for team members, is that God has promised me that I would have and attract people who can articulate and implement a vision. And I think the other part of that is I'm not trying to tell you what I think. I'm trying to ask you what you think. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm waiting on you to tell me what to do because I want to follow you. When I hire you, I want to be able to follow you. And I'm hiring people that I can follow. And that's why the trust word becomes so important. I want my VPs, vice presidents, cabinet members to be able to receive a vision for the university that I can learn to buy into, that I can learn to implement. I think that the next part is how do we begin to motivate? I think that, oftentimes we lose sight of the power of gardening. And I would just say to all of you who are listening that, this is a great time to plant seed. This is a great time to start something new, to forgive, to learn again, to do something different. Like, I don't know who's listening, but if you are stuck at a job you don't like and you don't make a move now, then you've missed the voice of the Lord speaking to you in this moment. Like, this is the moment to break out of your comfort zone and start to seed and plant a new level of your career and to really break out. And I think that's the power of pandemics. That's the power of isolation moments. It's the power of crises, that in crises, some of the greatest innovations are born. Just think about it, right? The number one business in the world in 2020 was Zoom. I mean, would you believe that all those tech companies that we thought was just in Silicon Valley, that these tech companies are now driving the marketplace? They're driving your retirement vehicles. They're driving your portfolios. And so not only is this a time, a perfect season for you to dream again, but this is also the time when those things that were once rejected are becoming the cornerstone to the new world. And those tech companies that nobody could figure out, didn't think they would work, they were blue chipped and they were picked. Now they are the cornerstone of the very way we work. I mean, they are the cornerstone about how we communicate, interact. They're trying to, would you believe that Facebook is being considered a conglomerate? I mean, like, that's supposed to be the train company, the phone company. But now Facebook is being sued because they own a monopoly. Can you believe that? How fast things have changed. If there's any hope for you, no matter who you choose to follow, to grow under, please know you can never bury your dreams. Look, man, don't. You will have more people who say what you cannot do than people who say you can do. And you got to be able to stand strong in the midst of the people who don't believe in you, as much as you can stand for people who do believe in you. I believe in President Faison. He said it. He's looking for you. You go down there and you go work for him. President Felton, you go down there and you go work at Wiley. You go to Little Rock and you work for President Smothers. And if the Lord so decides, find your way over down here in Richmond. And if the Lord, once you walk, it's an amazing thing. I'll give you one final insight. As soon as you walk through the door, you log into the virtual meeting, before you even open your mouth, God has already provided the signal. We know whether you're the person for it, just when you show up. So whatever you do, keep showing up, keep working, and that hopefully encourages somebody.
Yes, sir.
Man, how do you come behind this?
Just walk slowly, brother. Walk the text.
Just walk slowly. And I know this time has been well spent. We're past the 8 o'clock hour, Herman. So I want to respect that as well. I just want to say thank you again, Herman, to you and to Melva and to Greg and to Tony and to George for having the vision and foresight to establish H.E.L.F. And I liken it to that biblical analogy that in the Old Testament, in order for you to have access to life everlasting, you had to be a part of the unique bloodline, the lineage. Then Jesus Christ came into the world and he died and he rose again. And then this group arose called the Gentiles.
Yes.
And now, because of that, we all have access to life everlasting. And so what you have done, I remember when I was in high school, we could not even think about, being presidents of HBCUs, Herman, because there was no one in our family who had been presidents of colleges or universities. Zachary, we couldn't imagine this. And then you brought H.E.L.F. along, and now look at where you are. And so thank you for that. Thank you for creating that Gentile moment for those who are out there desiring to be a part of the family, the collective, who can one day now say, you know what? I, in one day, have had an exchange with over 20 HBCU presidents.
Right. Nowhere
Who are willing
in the
to
world.
talk to me, who are willing to tell me their stories, who are willing to vouch for me, because so I want to say to all of the presidents who participated today, and to those who may have not been able to participate but had a desire to, this only continues by us sending individuals who are in our spaces to H.E.L.F to support the great work that you all are doing. Amen. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, you can count on me to have someone from my team or someone from under my tutelage as a part of every cohort going forward, as long as you exist. Right. So that's the commitment that I think we all have to make this work. Our schools are in need of more money. Our schools are in need of serious students. Our schools are in need of innovation, and more importantly, our schools are in need of good people. What you all are doing, what we're doing here tonight, provides, in my opinion, a very strong pipeline to ensure that our institutions exist today and well into the future. And it has absolutely been an honor tonight to be on the exchange once again with Brother Faison and Brother Lucas. And I want to take just a point of personal privilege, because to me, this is what makes the collective, what makes the family so strong. Mm-hmm. We're not jealous of each other. We celebrate each other. Yes. We support each other. Yes. Sister Rosalind Clark Artist was named on yesterday.
Yes, yes.
Again, right? This sister is dynamic. You know, I mean, President of the Year by HBCU Dive, and let me tell you, it made my heart.
It's not HBCU Dive, it's Education Dive.
Education Dive.
Education Dive.
Thank you. But look, that's not just Black schools.
That's
all the point I want to make. This is all schools.
Dope.
Amazing. And look, one of our own sisters, this sister was just on this exchange today, earlier, facilitating this session.
Yeah.
She, you know, I have on speed dial. Like, she is so, like, just an amazing sister. Yeah. And my heart was just overjoyed today when I found that out. And to me, that is what this work is all about, right?
Sure.
And so if you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work that is needed to become a Rosalind Clark artist, right? Those are the rock stars. You're bringing this all full circle. I want to be a rock star like Sister Rosalind Clark Artist. And guess what? We started this work together. I think she was just a year before me. So I'm striving to be like Wonder Woman.
That's right.
She is the kind of rock star that we should all.
That's it.
At the end of the day, she has turned around Florida Memorial. She has turned around Benedict College. And for her work in the crises, this organization has honored her.
Yes.
And that is how we move our institutions forward, by recognizing that we do have rock stars like Rosalind Clark Artist among us right now, willing to talk to us, share with us her accomplishments, but she'll also talk to you about her shortcomings.
Right.
And that is what it's all about. And so thank you, Herman, for creating this forum. I hope that what we've said tonight has inspired someone to stay the course, because our institutions certainly deserve it. More importantly, our students deserve it as well. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Man, look, I am full.
Talk, sir.
Full. There are those who wish for us to fail. And I'm talking about the collective, not H.E.L.F, but those are there are those who wish for us to fail. And that Mexican proverb about those who wish to bury us did not know that they were planting seeds. And the fertile ground that we lay in is something that we're not afraid of. William McDowell talks about those who have worked the crop are not afraid of the rain. I want the rain. The rain is the manifestation or the beginning of the harvest. and we are tilling the ground. I'm not the only person. This is real talk. The beauty of this space is that we call each other and we're ushering in. I don't know that it's new because I know that the old heads have something that's special. And in fact, theirs is more special than ours because if you fail, you were caught, right?
Yeah, right.
My point is that enough of us have watched how they do things. And what Jimmy Jenkins implanted in me and what Easy Ogweri, my political science professor at Edward Waters College, said to me that you people don't get it. And he's Nigerian in Igbo. And he said, you people, Americans, don't get it. Your job is to go get the best and bring back to your people. That was said to me in August of 1998. I will never forget it because it shifted my axis. And it made me understand that all the while I was a young man finding my way, that I was already where I was supposed to be, mentally, understanding what was old. And if anybody has spent a minute around me, you will hear what is owed to the space. You will hear me say that because I believe it. And I believe what we're doing collectively is some good shit. And it is ours. It is for us. It is by us.
Yes.
It is unapologetically, unabashedly Black. And if it weren't for sisters like Rosalind Clark Artist, Cassie DeBroy, Let Pierce Brunette, Melva Williams, Jackie McWilliams, Kiki Barnes, Ivy Taylor today, those sisters, and Rosalind and Tasney are the most fierce and unapologetic in saying, if you are a male and looking at me for mentorship, it ain't gonna happen. I'm all about the sisters. How can you not love that, right? They're clear about where they're going. And that's why H.E.L.F will be what it's gonna be, because it is a collective. We labor because it is love, and we understand, and we're all doing something amazing at all of our institutions. And you might not see it. You may not want to give credit to it. You may not want to give credence to it. I am not Howard. I am not Spelman. I am not Tuskegee or Morehouse, but I guarantee you that my students understand and recognize that we are Wiley. Right? And every one of us that are running these institutions will say that with a steel spine, that we are Edward Waters, and we are Virginia Union, and we are Philander. And the reason why we will rise is because we know what it means to fly. More importantly, what it means to levitate. God is the levitation. And when you hear dudes not afraid to talk about the love they have for each other, the love they have for God, the fact that we want to win. And there are so many of us, man, out here. I'm telling you, I'm full because I know this space is going to be all right, as my man Kendrick Lamar said.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And I know that because of brothers like y'all, man. I want to thank y'all for spending time with us, for the 697 folks who registered for this day. We owe you a debt of gratitude. 72 HBCUs that in person view this one of these conversations today. 47 PWIs.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
And it is only because Smothers, who didn't have to, came, every one of them, and sent folk here, and also allowed us to come on his campus and helped us provide this service. Faison won't let us charge him a dime, won't let us fly him where we need to go, where he needs to go. Lucas, I mean, the support we get is what I want to amplify at this moment, and my point of personal privilege. If it wasn't for the folk who saw the vision and bought into the vision and are a part of this vision, health wouldn't be what it's going to be. And because of that, we're going to ride extra hard for y'all and look forward to, as we did today, partnering with the Center for the Study of HBCUs at Virginia Union University.
Yes, sir.
The gall, the unmitigated gall for this little boy to say, I'm going to center a place where we can study what we do. Who in the hell do you think you are?
Yes, sir.
Who? I'm going to tell you who he thinks he is.
Then I'm going to put somebody over it that they rejected.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
I think what we do, because that's what we do.
I think in the words of Muhammad Ali, I'm going to show you how great I am. That's what it is. I'm going to show you how great I am. Brothers, you know it's love. This COVID thing has found us in different places. And I know from my experiences with each of you, we are all changed men.
Yeah.
And I think one of you said it earlier, if you are not different when you leave COVID, when COVID is done, you need to take your ass back to COVID. You need to get COVID again, right? Because if you don't leave here a different person, then something's wrong with you. And I'm grateful, and on behalf of the rest of the founders, man, I'm just so grateful for you guys. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to the next time we pop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do that again. Until then, man, may God keep each of you in the very palm of his hands, your families, and know that at the end of the day, you know, again, we're going to be all right, man. And this work that we're doing is real. And regardless of what them people say about you, your boy loves you.
God bless.